Hey everybody, welcome to Sama. I'm Derek Mazzoni. This is Sales Circuit Music and Art. We have been broadcasting and streaming live streams since the pandemic started, and I've had an opportunity to interview some amazing artists from all over the world. We're based in Seattle, so we're based in North America. So we've also been focusing on artists from our neighbors, and one of our neighbors is of course Canada. And Canada is a beautiful place. It's gigantic. And it's pretty complex, and it has a province called Quebec, which I personally love, a town called Montreal, which is one of my favorite towns in the world. And most recently, I discovered, or I was turned on to by my friend Devin, thank you, Devin, a band called Mélisande and Électrotrad. They're based in Quebec, and they combine a really interesting mix of traditional music, folkloric music from Quebec with pop, with electronic stylings and electronic energy. They're a blast. And when I first got a chance to see them, Devin sent me this record, and I looked at it. It was like, wow, this is really interesting. We'll post a picture of it for you so you all can share. This is really intriguing. And then I listened, and it was like, this actually works. This is a really intriguing way of combining these two energies, and then at the same time create a new audience for them. So let me play you a bit of music of Mélisande and Électrotrad, and then we'll go right into an interview because we got him here right now.
Très comme ma commère, nous le pouvons bien, nous le pouvons bien. C'est pas la bière qui manque, nous en avons bien, nous en avons bien. J'ai monté dans un arbre pour mieux voir au loin, pour mieux voir au loin. J'ai aperçu un moine, oh, 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 le verre à la main, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens. Oh, oh, oh. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens. J'ai aperçu un moine là-bas dans un coin, qui confessait les filles, le verre à la main, le verre à la main. Mais s'il y en avait une qui ne voulait point, qui ne voulait point. Et j'ai fait signe aux autres, oh, 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 revenez demain, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens. J'ai fait signe aux autres, revenez demain, revenez demain. Demain à la même heure ou encore plus matin, encore plus matin. Je vous confesserai tout, oh, 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 le verre à la main, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens. Je vous confesserai tout, oh, 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 le verre à la main, train, train, train. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens. Demain je m'en vais m'adurer là, mardi je reviens.
Hey, everybody.
Hey!
Hey!
All right, that was awesome. Mélisande and Alexandre de Grosbois-Garand. Thank you. You guys are based in Quebec. What city are you based in Quebec?
We are in Belleuil.
Where's
It's
that?
on
South shore of southeast of Montreal, half an hour out of Montreal.
Okay.
One of the outer suburbs of Montreal, but it's nice because we don't feel like we're around Montreal, because in the area here, Belleuil is like the center of the area, so it's kind of a center on its own, and there's a beautiful river and mountain, so it's
Gorgeous.
Nice in between living in the big city and on the countryside.
Yeah,
we're close enough to. There's a bus going, so we figure when our kids will be old enough to want to go to Montreal, they can take the bus and
just
go.
jump on a bus and go. Well thought out.
And we both lived in Montreal in the past, so we're used to do the grocery and drugstore and all these things by foot, and we can do this as well here.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
We're just in front of Mont-Saint-Hilaire, which is a nice mountain. And I noticed that people from outside of Montreal or even outside of Canada know this place. So maybe somebody will know out there, Mont-Saint-Hilaire. So we live right in front of it. And like Alex said, there's this wonderful Richelieu River that is between us and Mont-Saint-Hilaire.
Perfect. The music you guys are putting out is really interesting. At first, it was, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, what is going on here? And then when I saw it live in that video, and also some other videos that I've seen of yours on YouTube, it's like, it isn't like, it's not like a weird little mix where I'm just going to try this just to be exotic. This is who you are. You're actually playing these instruments. Tell me the evolution of this, because both of you have played in traditional folk music. How did this come about, where you're adding these particular elements? And Mélisande, I love the fact that you're, so many times in these situations, like you're actually putting on a costume. You're like, I'm on stage, I'm performing, and this is what I'm wearing and I'm performing. Most of the time in the music, in folk music, it's like you're just basically walking off the bus, getting on stage and playing, which is charming and beautiful of itself. But you're like, no, I'm on stage. I need to present. How did this come about? Tell me the story of your Mélisande and Alexandre.
Alex was in traditional bands before, and for myself, I was in bands when I was younger. Like we both had bands. We could have known each other when we were teens, but we didn't know each other. We met later on in life, but we knew of each other.
For 11 years, I was in her cousin's class at school.
Wow.
But I never met her. I knew of her band, and I knew some of her bandmates.
And the legend wants that Alex was there at my first gig ever that I did at it. Well, we can say now at a bar, and I was 15, even 14, I think 14 at this time. So Alex was.
I was underage as well.
and I know.
Oh, Canada.
And I couldn't finish all the songs that I had learned because there was cops coming into the place, so we had to take the back door to exit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and Alex was there. So, that's one thing. So I early on when I started to sing, it was always like, for me, it was a show that I was putting on, and I really liked to do that. And when I had a band, that was more like progressive rock, and I had like really funny outfits, just like I wasn't like having one outfit, but I always had like, I remember once I made myself a cloud, a huge styrofoam. We say styrofoam in French, but that's English actually. Styrofoam cloud, and I had my head into the cloud, and the song was about getting into the clouds. So I had like things like that, like a little object that I would bring on stage, and I had weird
props.
things. Props. That's the word I was looking for. So I had props and just like very colorful, and my hair was always really funny. Like I had half of my head shaved, and then I had half of like one half was white, the other was black, and I was twisting it, and I had all colors. And now I have like doll hair because we do a lot of extra on movies and TV shows, and I cannot afford to have like a
really outstanding hair because they wouldn't hire me for that.
You would just get the emo gigs.
Right, and that's why on the album cover it's actually a wig that I'm wearing, because I wanted to have my hair blue, but then it was like, oh, I cannot afford to lose all these things. But so yeah, it was always something that I wanted. And on the other album, the first albums, Mélisande and Électrotrad, the outfit was there, but it was more like actually this is one of the outfit of one of the album, but it's more like classic. And for this one, and now I'm just telling you this before, but now for the next album, I may have to bring it back to something a little less intense. But I wanted to like push that craziness to the maximum, to where I could push it. And I met one guy who was working with this strange material, and I was like, I want something a bit like crazy and that can travel well, but ironically we didn't get to travel with this, because that's really plastic that you can put on a plane and it will never be destroyed. And you can you can wash it with just spray on it. So I needed something.
It's almost COVID proof.
Yeah. I needed something like that. And so I just did this crazy thing with this guy who made me this. And I have many, like the one on the album cover is a bit different. So I have like two different like tops and a skirt and everything. And then obviously it's harder to be mobile on stage, but I learned to do it. But then, we got cut. The grass was cut under our feet when the pandemic arrived. And we had like 25 gigs for the summer of 2020, but then we couldn't do them. So it was a bit of a bummer that I could not use this outfit so much. But this is something I have in myself for a long time, and I wanted to push it because, like you said, I'm thinking we have the chance to be a bit crazy about it because we go on stage. I could not just go to the doctor dressed like this. So I think it's an opportunity when you want to do it. If you don't feel like doing it, it's fine. But then I felt like it would put me into a place of more performing. And that show that we just saw, I was looking at it with you and I'm like, oh, this is quite dull because there's no one in the place. And I remember shows where we're more like, and this is more like, oh, okay, we're alone in this big room because we're doing like something
live stream with no people.
With no people.
Yeah.
So that's not the most dynamic thing. But so the story was a bit like I thought that I had left that behind me, this craziness of my youth, where I'd like to dress up and do crazy things. And I said, well, I'm not dead, so why not do it?
No,
it's not because I became a mom and my hair is brown that I cannot go crazy again. And that was just the idea behind it.
It's more timely now than ever, and it's interesting because I wasn't going to talk about this, but why not? We're here right now. Everybody's going to become a peacock in just about a month in North America, where where at least we're getting vaccinated. Because people have been stuck inside. So I'm seeing this with my children. I'm seeing this with others when you go outside. People they're just normalcy. They don't want to go back to what it was. There's no going back. It's like, where we go now from here? And it's peacock time. Like, I'm getting a new wardrobe. Screw this. I've been wearing this freaking hoodie forever. It's, and artists also. It's just like, you're going to be on stage. You're going to be in front of people. There's going to be this connection. As a species, we've just gone through fucking hell for the last year and a half. It was scary, and it was like lots of people died, and so when you come out of that thing, it's not like, okay, back to normal. It's like, no, we need to celebrate life. We need to bring this out, and this is the reason why I wanted to have you on, Salma. Is that when I'm listening to your music, when I'm seeing you perform, it's not like you're just like, okay, just pull this out. I'm going to make stuff here. You're playing instruments. You've got this tap to tradition, which is one of the reasons why I co-founded Sama. Is like, I wanted to present music and ideas that come from somewhere, that they have like a foundation, a bedrock. Where they go, that's wonderful, but they kind of come from somewhere. It's not just like, on my show in KXP, I'll play stuff that's just like all over the place. But for Sama, I want to get a little more specific, and I wanted to highlight you guys, because you have a bedrock, and you're building from that, and you're creating beautiful things out of it. And it's not like the same thing. Some other artists, it's like, this is what we do. That's the way it's done. There's no variation. Where you are like, who knows where it's going to go, and that's part of the beauty. It's like, okay, let's play and see what happens. And the other reason I wanted to chat with you is like, it's been the pandemic, it still is the pandemic. Curious what's going to come. You got a new record coming out. What do you want to do? Like, and what have you learned from the last year and a half that will play a role in it? But think on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's have some more music first, and then we'll come back to that. But marinate on that if you can.
Right.
Voici une bonne chanson pour célébrer le printemps. A good one to say bonjour printemps. Petit pétard, petit pétard, petit pétard. Petit pétard qui? Petit pétard là! Au soir en m'en allant veiller, dans mon chemin rencontre une fille éplorée. Qu'avez-vous donc la belle, qu'avez-vous à pleurer? Je pleure mon amant qui veut pas s'y marier. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Je pleure mon amant qui veut pas s'y marier. Il reste juste un petit bossu, j'espère que je l'aurai. Car de mourir Lévi, c'est de mourir enragé. Elles arrivent dans l'autre monde, le visage tout massacré. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dee-dum. Ils arrivent dans l'autre monde, le visage tout massacré. C'est Pierre qui est à la porte, peut pas les laisser rentrer. Il leur demande tout haut s'ils sont mariés. Elle répond haut et fort qu'elles ont tout essayé. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Petit pétard alors est arrivé. Dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, 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 dee-dum, daddy-dats, daddy-lee-lam, dee-dee-dee-dum, daddy-dee-dum.
So we had a moment. We're here with Mélisande and Alexandre, the Grosbois-Garand, Alexandre Électrotrad, and we've been chatting, and we're talking about past, present, and most importantly, future. One, I love what you're doing there. Your violin player, he's got that old-timey little tap thing with on that. It's just like, and you've got this big show, you've got synths, you've got like, well done.
And that show was supposed to be with a dancer, actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And the dancer sprained his back the same morning of the show. So he's like,
man.
oh,
Heartbreak.
oh, okay.
Heartbreak.
Cancellation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, if you were to write it down and send it to me, I was like, I got this idea for a band, and this is what's going to be. I would read it like, what? Hi. It's like, but it works. So you, whatever you've done, it's working. What do you want to do with it?
Well, now it's interesting because we did 3 albums already, and now we're with the pandemic. One conclusion was that we should be as independent as possible. So I improved my skills as a music producer and mixer and everything. So we still work with the same producer that we've been working for many years, but I get more and more involved in the programming and mixing and kinds of vocal effects and stuff and sound design and stuff like that. So every album I know more, so I can do more myself and work more as a team with the producer.
And this was a progression from the start where the person who was doing the computer was not as skilled, and then we got another producer who's the guy we're working with, but was on stage with us with his laptop and everything, and then Alex took that lead and took it, and it's him now that's taking care of it. And then we got in-ears, so this was all like a progression.
Actually, it's funny, just a little story. I started this band with Mélisande partly because I wanted to play more bass, which because with Genticorum, my previous band, I was playing more flute, and I was a bass player first, so I wanted to play more bass, but now I don't play bass anymore.
Oh,
and I do programming and all kinds of stuff.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
And it's funny, I got into like traditional music, and the first show that really grabbed my attention and make me want to be a traditional musician was a show by Hednin Garna, a Swedish band from the 90s.
I know them well.
In France, and they were doing some kind of Scandinavian Électrotrad. They had a guy with a laptop on stage, and so that was I already knew some traditional music, but I really got into it at that moment. So for me, it was obvious that at some point I would make Électrotrad music myself.
Okay, so it resonated with you.
Yeah, it took 20 years, and then I found the right person, and myself got at the right moment.
When we first met, I was a singer-songwriter. I had been in Boston for 5 years playing with a band called The Sweepers, which were like was a rock progressive band from Robert Fripp from King Crimson, like the crafty guitarist. So that was that gang that those people, and I was playing guitar tuned like Robert Fripp, and we had this band and everything. And I moved to Montreal, and so I was doing like songs in bars with my acoustic guitar. So I was doing a lot of songs, and then I met Alex, and I found that he was a bass player. So I'm like, oh, I've always loved bass player, and I'm like, oh, you can play with me. That's gonna be great. And he's like, I'm never gonna play with you.
The rest is history.
And then like 2 weeks after he was playing, he was in my band. We flushed the bass player, and then he was the bass player.
Did you really say, I'm never playing with you?
Yes.
I said that, and I meant it for 2 weeks.
And now you're married with children. That's a beautiful story. Oh, that's great. Okay, so we talked about where we're from. What do you want to do? So this is an interesting, so you've taken this time to actually develop your skill sets. You built the sunroom in your house. This is a metaphor for your life. So this pandemic has been intriguing. You've been like, it's been, I'm going to try my natural history of poetry here. It's a chrysalis, and you came in as one, and now you're coming out as, a butterfly.
I hope so. But it was not that easy because you asked what did we learn into this, but like on so many levels, different things, obviously. But I knew that playing music was very important for me, that it was something that kept me balanced. And I knew that, but then I really knew that in the last year, because physically, emotionally, it really made a difference for me. And it did less of a difference for Alex, maybe because on stage he doesn't maybe put the same energy than I do, maybe something like that differently. maybe not the same stress, then I have to like have the whole thing, like all the lyrics and everything, like I'm and the connection with the public and everything. Maybe it's different, the energy we put. And so he was more like, oh great, and he bought a lot of things for the home studio and got really into it and studied, and I was just like no motivation whatsoever to do.
Yeah, got it.
Devastation.
I was in a little fetal position in my bed for a little bit, and then I was like, but then we have kids, and I know we cannot really be really depressed and not do anything because we have to, like, life is going on. But it was just interesting. I learned that we didn't have the same relationship with live music, with playing live music. I didn't know to what extent our we would go through that differently. So that was it was confronting for me, because he was just like, cool, I'm so happy with the studio.
And I'm having a blast. That's interesting.
And then I was like, I'm nothing anymore. I don't exist. I don't exist anymore. So yeah, that was
I get it completely. Well, it's are we looking at bookings now? Are we looking at?
Yeah, well, yes. we have some shows. We have about 5 shows, including some of our favorite festivals in Quebec this summer.
Mm-hmm.
But Ontario is not happening this year.
Yeah, we had great folk festivals in Ontario, and a festival in Malaysia, and festivals in the East Coast, in the West Coast.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully will happen in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now with like this summer, we'll be finishing the production of the album in our basement. So the producer comes home every week, and we record and produce the songs together. So it's a very nice process. And the album is supposed to be out in November. So hopefully we'll get lots of bookings in 2022, and the pandemic will be gone, or almost. And
something that we knew was that we were more known outside of Quebec, like more even in the rest of Canada, and surprisingly too in places where they speak English, like Australia. This is one of our best place to be, and our biggest success is in Australia. And people are always like surprised, because they're like, well, then you sing in English. I'm like, no, it's still in French. But so we knew that we weren't as, like I said, known in Quebec, and so that's something that we've always wanted to do, to like break the Quebec market. And so we changed record label during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. There was just like some opportunity there to change label, and it was all good. So that's now a Quebec label. We were with somebody from Ontario. So it's like, we hope that we can try and exist more for the public in Quebec.
And we like the album will be even more dance oriented. A lot of songs will have like kind of a happy beats vibe, even some house music influence as well.
What? Okay.
Yeah. But still very rooted in tradition. And we'll also, like on this album, like we've been thinking about that for a few years, to make covers of songs that were inspired by traditional music, like a lot of bit like folk singers that were inspired by traditional English songs or something like that. A lot of people in Quebec were inspired by traditional songs and music, and created songs with that. So now we'll do some covers of these songs. So hopefully it will appeal to a broader audience in Quebec that know these songs already. And so we're trying
we're trying something.
Yeah, the Électrotrad process to new songs.
And for the album Les Myriades, we did this field recording thing, recording of elders along the river, and we met people and wanted to find. We've always wanted to find like the hidden treasures, of songs. And now, like Alex said, it's not like the opposite thing, but we want this time to do more like some covers, some well-known covers from bigger artists from Quebec, but also some well-known traditional songs. But this time, I've always like been changing a bit the lyrics of some songs when I don't like the lyrics, or if I don't like the turn of the story. But this time some of them are really more changed, but it's more like classics, like, I don't know what would be the equivalent in English, but like, the songs that everyone knows. Like,
we did field collecting for this last album, Les Myriades, and this is one of the songs we collected. Une chanson que nous avons collectée le long des berges de la rivière Richelieu. Le matin quand je m'y lève, je lui mets la main sur le cou. Sur le cou de ma bouteille, je lui fais faire 5-6 glouglous. Oh mon homme, si tu me chicanes, j'abandonnerai la cabane. Oh mon homme, si tu me chicanes, j'abandonnerai la cabane. Dans une coupe remplie de barils, je ferai dresser mon lit. Les deux pieds sous une barrique et la tête sous le robin. J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande. Les deux pieds sous une barrique et la tête sous le robin.
Les deux pieds sous une barrique et la tête sous le robin.
S'il en tombe quelques gouttes, ça fera rougir mon teint.
S'il en tombe quelques gouttes, ça fera rougir mon teint.
Et si le baril défonce, j'en boirai jusqu'à demain. J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
Et si le baril défonce, j'en boirai jusqu'à demain.
Si le baril défonce, j'en boirai jusqu'à demain.
Et si je viens à mourir sous la terre, on m'y mettra.
Et si je viens à mourir sous la terre, on m'y mettra.
Les quatre gars les plus canailles porteront des coins de drap. J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
Les quatre gars les plus canailles porteront des coins de drap.
Les quatre gars les plus canailles porteront les coins du drap.
Et les quatre plus grands ivrognes me porteront à mon trépas.
Et les quatre plus grands ivrognes me porteront à mon trépas.
Et le reste de la gang chantera mon libéra. J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
Et le reste de la gang chantera mon libéra. En s'y mettant à genoux, on se dira entre nous. Boira-t-elle dans l'autre monde comme elle buvait avec nous? J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande, j'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
J'aime m'avoir dans l'Irlande.
So this is interesting. So your audience, you're thinking about your local audience. You're thinking about Quebec.
Yeah, we'd love
You're right.
to play more in Quebec. Like we love the rest of the world for sure, and we've been traveling the rest of the world for many years. But it would be nice to like with the kids. It's different matters. Like also because a lot of people in Quebec consider traditional music to be something from the past and not cool and whatever. And we think that it's still very relevant and still very cool. So we want to make it make it sound in a way that will appeal to more people, so people can discover the value in it. So.
I completely agree, and that's one of the reasons why we're talking right now. Is that in programming this and putting artists such as yourself on this live stream, I've been a club DJ for a long time, and I know when a song kind of hits people in a really interesting way. Where if it's just like straight up techno, it is what it is. It's fine. But if there are certain elements that speak to a tradition or a history or something that resonates with that audience, it affects people in a different way. There's a band out of Ontario called Tribe Called Red. Are you familiar with them by chance? Mm-hmm. So when they first started playing and started combining these elements of their traditions, the dance floor went crazy because the kids that were there, it didn't matter whether they were Indigenous or not. They knew that there was something there that had like some alchemical energy that made them feel something different than just mooch, mooch, mooch. It just changed them. And people remember those shows. And and you can be in one space where you're like, I'm just going to play traditional music and it's fine. I'm going to play old timey music here, what we say in the States, which is good. It's not a value judgment, but if you can actually take that history, that secret sauce that works well in everything, whether it's like, mother vinegar or something that you have under your and it's like you've had this for 100 years, wow, and put that into the next generation's delivery system, dance floor, wherever that is, then you're making something really, really transcendent, because it becomes a I don't want to get religious, but it becomes kind of like a temple experience where it's like everybody suddenly on the dance floor or at the show falls in love with each other. Like there's something that happens with the music where it's like, I don't know who you are, but I love you right now. And the band and the audience, like Mélisande, what you're talking about when you were like, sitting in bed, you're not getting that thing from the audience anymore. It's just not there. And Alexandre was like, oh, I never really had it, so I'm going to go deep into a studio here and work on that.
I still love to be on stage.
But it's not. You're not
patient. Like I could handle a year without shows, but
but she could not. And so she's like, wait a second. I'm like, because she was getting food off of that, and suddenly, it's like if I suddenly don't have Thai food in my life, I'm like, wow. I'm really bummed out.
Yeah.
And so, but if you're combining all of these things and presenting something, and you're creating alchemy, you're transmutating this thing into something else. And I'm super excited to see and hear what that will be, because I know that there are club kids that would just lose their minds. So I could see you guys, this sounds bizarre, I could see you playing Electric Daisyland Carnival. I could see you playing Ultra, where suddenly those kids are just like, because they're open to that right now. They really are. They've been through hell, and they're really open to that. They would lose. I don't know what that parallel would be in Montreal, but even look in Europe. But it's just like, get yourself booked on some of these. Like, work with a booking agent that's like, let me put you here in this thing. Working your way up to the main stage. Start someplace, because those kids would lose it. Those adults, everybody would lose it, because it's close but different, and that little sweet spot will make magic.
But
real
it's
magic.
funny how we find that we are, like you said, it's so much in the middle of something. Like it's hard because we sometimes don't get booked into folk fest or trad fest because they don't really see. Well, it's a bit annoying because there's a lot of traditional things in what we do. Like I said, what we've done with the songs, that they were really songs that we collected. This was an ethnological, like folklorist point, like comment tu dis, démarche artistic approach. And more than other people who play straight trad, we had more of a traditional ethnological approach to it. But then people don't always see that or even know that. And I was disappointed in that project where we found that there was a lot of value with what we've done with the elders, but then the media here and nobody really thought, well, some people did think it was interesting, but it didn't have the impact that I thought it could have had. And that was a bit of a disappointment for me, because I thought, well, and then there was a pandemic, And then the elders here became really important. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, last year it wasn't that important, but it's like, and it's crazy. I was like, wow, this is a weird timing for things, because we've done this project. But then if we had done it and now, while the pandemic was happening, oh yeah, the elders, they're so important. Yeah, right, now you think so. But it was just, for me, it was like, oh well. And I was very disappointed. And it's funny how people here sometimes don't get that thing. Like we're going to present a song that has violin, fiddle, turlet, dididin, things like that, and really rooted. But since it has this beat, they don't sometimes see that it is rooted in the tradition.
Yeah.
And they just stay to the first impression and say, oh, it's not even trad. We're like,
It's funny because since we mix two things that are not usually seen together, it's easy to be too traditional for some people or to be too electro for other people. But like our goal, both artistically and as a marketing point, is to find that spot. Like we're aiming for that sweet spot, both in the songs we do and find the right. And it's really is a matter of timing as well. So I'm pretty sure that the timing is coming for us for people to really get it, and for us to have the good songs to be at the good time in the good moment too.
It's generational. It really is. It's like you're not going to convince the old timies. They're just not. It's just like they're happy with but you've got a whole other generation that's coming that's going to be like, okay, something's going on here. I'm seeing this with other artists that I know, that I work with. They're like, well, this is when I started doing this stuff in Boston. It was niche. It was world music. It was like, what are you doing with this stuff? This doesn't, there's rock. But now it's like it's been discovered by everybody, and it's literally everywhere. And what you're seeing now with streaming, you see they don't even the kids today. I hate saying that, so it sounds like a little Gen Xer, but the kids today, they don't care about those parameters. It's about what they're feeling. And there is a fundamental human connection to tradition, not a conservative way, but as in like, this is where I came from, and I'm curious to see where this will take me. There's a parallel to cuisine in this space too, where it's just like, hey, I like how it tastes. It's not aged. It's just good. And so the same with music, and artists such as yourselves can actually do something really interesting there. And Mélisande, like if it, anything that's worthwhile it's hard, and people don't get it. It's like until they suddenly get it, and so they'll get it, and then it'll be like
a matter of lasting as long, to not get like completely discouraged on like making people getting it. But
no. I mean,
perseverance.
You will, but the thing is that you're also producing. This conversation is going in a whole different direction than I thought it would. But you're actually producing, and you're doing stuff at home, and it looks like you have like a balance between music, life, show. It's going to be interesting, and the fact that you'll have support from your people, your community, and the fact that you're doubling down on Quebec, I think it'll be really, really interesting. And there'll be presenters like myself also, and others will be like, okay, this is really interesting. Let me put this there, because this thing, I'm not the only one that goes like, hey, this combination is working right now. There's others, everybody from like Giles at the BBC and Piotr and Globaltic and others, like, this stuff works. And it works in a way that we didn't expect for it to work. And you're going to see more of the electronic space coming in here, and more of the traditional, and also something that we don't have a word for yet, but we'll be talking about it in a couple of years, where it's just like, oh yeah, that's the thing of that. And so success, massive, well done.
La compagnie, bonjour monsieur, mesdames, bonjour la compagnie. C'est une petite histoire que je vais vous raconter. Ratatoum, ratatoum, petit tap, tadididam, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. Hey, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. raconter. C'est une petite histoire que je vais vous raconter. Moi j'ai un petit mari qui me fait bien enrager. Ratatoum, ratatoum, et tita, tadididam, tout la tatoula, tout la 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 dididou. Hey, tout la tatoula, tout la 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 dididou. Moi j'ai un petit mari qui me fait bien enrager. Moi j'ai un petit mari qui me fait bien enrager. Quand il arrive de l'ouvrage, je vous dis qu'il va pacter. Ratatoum, ratatoum, petit tap, tadididam, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. Hey, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. Quand il arrive de l'ouvrage, je vous dis qu'il est bien pacté. Quand il arrive de l'ouvrage, je vous dis qu'il est bien pacté. J'ai pris la clé du poêle et je l'ai dégrisé. Ratatoum, ratatoum, petit tap, tadididam, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. Hey, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. J'ai pris la clé du poêle et je l'ai dégrisé. J'ai pris la clé du poêle et je l'ai dégrisé. Ratatoum, ratatoum, petit tap, tadididam. Le moral de l'histoire, c'est qu'elle porte commencé. Ratatoum, ratatoum, petit tap, tadididam, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou. Hey, tout la tatoula, tout la la dididou.
You guys are made for video. You're kind of made for this right now because of what you're doing is intriguing. You've got the crafty guitarist Robert Frith, prog rock headdress, shall we say, and then you've got the traditional virtuosity, where it's like, hey, I know what I'm doing here with this fiddle. It's not like 3-chord guitar where at KXP we do a lot of bands and it's just the same freaking thing over and over again. That's an interesting combination for video. You can actually do some really cool stuff there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on Sama. I look forward to welcoming you here. Devin will be there obviously, and then we'll and I'm looking forward to see where the music that you're going to make and the shows that you're going to make will take you. Be well, be safe.
Yeah, you too.
See you.
Bye. Bye.